Everyone knows this theme, and chances are you probably grew up with it. Halo is one of the most recognizable video game franchises and is the game that defined a lot of childhoods. From playing as the Master Chief and soloing everyone who got in your way, to witnessing the Great Human Covenant war unfold, this was the bread and butter of owning an Xbox. The original trilogy is great, and each one of those games could be considered the best in the series, but for some, they weren't able to experience it from start to finish. Some joined during the middle, while others weren't old enough to play until the very end. For me though, Halo Reach was the game that started it all. Released on September 14th, 2010, this was my first entry in the series and introduced me to one of the greatest video games that would impact my life in more ways than one. From the legacy of Noble Team, to the multiplayer, to the influence it had on me outside the game, this is my favorite Halo of all time, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But why is that? Why is Reach so beloved by many? Well, where should I start? The main reason why so many people love Halo Reach is its campaign. I don't need to be a broken record and say that the campaign is amazing because it is. Anyone who's played it knows just how impactful it is. There are already a ton of other great video essays explaining in depth why it's so amazing, but I would still like to talk about my experiences with it. Halo Reach was actually the first game I played on my Xbox 360, as it came bundled with my console. I can't tell you how many times I've replayed this campaign, solo and with friends. Heck, I sometimes go on YouTube to rewatch the cutscenes just to feel something again. Now, a Halo without Master Chief seemed like an odd choice, but this game has truly stood the test of time. This entry serves as a prequel for the original trilogy and was the last game to be made by Bungie before they made this monstrosity. But while Halo 3 ODST did do something similar before, straying away from the Master Chief Chronicles and telling another unique story within the Halo universe, Reach further evolved the game by basically rebuilding the engine from the ground up and looking greater than all the other Halos before it. While there are a plethora of reasons as to why the campaign is great, I believe it all boils down to one thing: the story. The Fall of Reach is a very important event in Halo, as this was humanity's greatest defeat and a turning point in the war. But this game showed us firsthand how devastating it truly was. Now, unbeknownst to me at the time, this game wasn't universally loved at launch. This is mainly due to Bungie basically retconning the Fall of Reach book that released a little bit before the original game, which also went over the events of Reach, albeit in their own different way. But Bungie pretty much ignored it because they didn't want their game to be dictated by something they had no control over, which I get. So while some diehard Halo fans were upset about this change, others were more open-minded and were able to view the two as happening to coincide with one another. Plus 343 would later reconcile and fix any continuity errors, so all is good now, right? Anyways, this game showed us how threatening the Covenant really were, and continuously emphasized how hopeless we were against them. Something you kind of forget about in the original trilogy. This game is filled with so many heartbreaking, bleak, and depressing moments, and every step forward in our journey is immediately followed by 10 steps back, until eventually, we lose. I mean, the whole slogan for this game was "Remember Reach," so we kinda knew how the story would end before it even began. And on top of all that, the emotions each mission carries is so powerful and brilliantly showcases all the events that led up to the Fall of Reach. The events of this game take place just over a month, as you can see when each mission takes place with the text at the bottom corner of the screen, and gradually witness our environment change over time. And with that, they were able to beautifully craft a narrative around their missions that let the story unfold naturally, but also made every level feel memorable. From being introduced to Noble Team and swiftly heading out on our first mission in Noble Actual, to seeing how gritty and different this game is with the piles of dead bodies, us interacting with the locals, and our first clash with the elites in Winter Contingency, defending Oni Sword Base and meeting up with Dr. Halsey for further exposition, seeing how the Covenant were able to send reinforcements so fast during Nightfall, charging into the heat of battle during Tip of the Spear, deactivating the Spire's energy shield, and blowing it up, only for our ship to get blown up by an even bigger one, reconvening in a cave during Long Night of Solace, where we devise a plan to destroy the supercarrier by sneaking onto it, led by us and Noble 5, only for things to go terribly wrong and have only one of us come back alive, crashing back down on Earth during Exodus, arriving at New Alexandria in Crisis, and shifting our focus to civilian evacuation, reuniting with the rest of the Noble Team in New Alexandria, only for the Covenant to start glassing the planet, forcing us on the retreat, but we aren't fast enough and lose another member. With all hope lost, we return to a destroyed sword base during the package, where we're given a new mission, getting Cortana off planet. We escort her to the Pillar of Autumn, facing enemy forces all over, and are finally able to complete the mission, but only with some noble sacrifices. We then cut to the epilogue, with them finding the Halo Ring, similar to the beginning of the first game, and the events of the original trilogy transpire, only for us to go back to Noble 6, the last Spartan standing, back to being a lone wolf, surviving onslaughts of Covenant, until eventually, we're no match, and we see our character's cracked helmet on the screen. All these missions had good pacing and provided unique gameplay elements and objectives, whether it be dogfighting in space, saving civilians with the help of fellow Marines and ODSTs, or assassinating elites during stealth missions. There's a good mix of everything, and the cutscenes make them even more worth it. This game truly feels like a movie. Everything from the camera movements, to the filmmaking techniques they use like wide shots to showcase our environment, and the use of in-world cameras adds so much realism and world building. It almost feels like we're witnessing a past memory, a documentary of lost footage, and every cutscene also expertly showcases emotion and exposition without needing too much dialogue. We see character movements reveal their personalities and are able to shine with the short time they're on screen. And whenever someone does speak, it feels purposeful and becomes almost instantly quotable. One prime example of this is in our first meeting with Dr. Halsey. This scene packs so much lore, like George's relationship with her due to the Spartan 2 program, Noble 6 bringing up how the elites were Zealot class due to their shield strength matching, noting that he's gone up against them before, Carter taking the blame for letting the elites escape, something that doesn't seem too grand in the moment and was probably the right call, but is one that causes a ripple effect throughout the campaign, and Dr. Halsey referencing a latchkey, something she doesn't take lightly and we later learn is the AI Cortana. In just this one scene, we learn a lot of exposition that might not seem important at first, but once we go back and dissect it even further, we see that these clues were given to us from the very start. But my personal favorite cutscene is the one at the end of New Alexandria. We all know how sudden Kat's death was, but when we rewind and see the small details in her actions leading up to her death, it starts piecing itself together. Like our armor's energy shields going down after the initial blast, her taking longer than everyone else to get up, and her missing the button to go down the elevator was just enough time for the elite marshal to snipe her. And it also reminds us that not everyone is going to be given a hero's death, settling down our expectations and reminding us just how unpredictable war can be. It's these small moments and clear attention to detail that adds greater depth to these cutscenes and the overall story. But the cherry on top of everything is the music. Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore are the goats of composing video game music. Their work on the Halo soundtracks are some of the best in video game history, and have continued to make awe-inspiring music in other games like Destiny, another game I poured a great amount of time into and remember all too fondly because of the music. But this game has by far my favorite soundtrack in the series. Their rendition of the OG Halo monk chant, shortly followed by these intense drums and horns, is one of my favorite versions of the main theme. It makes everything feel more serious and gives the game a completely different feel. But that's not all. They also have these climactic and action-themed music for grand battles like during Tip of the Spear, but also more somber and melancholy music when it feels like all hope is lost, like during Long Night of Solace and all the New Alexandria missions. Their dedication to this craft amplified these moments for us and made them even more memorable, and I thank them for this. But none of this would have worked without Noble Team. One of the biggest changes to this game is the introduction of Noble Team and Spartan 3s. These are cheaper and more disposable versions of the Spartan 2s before them. While they aren't as strong as the Master Chief, they excel in team-based missions and have a bit more humanity to them. In total, there are 3 classes of Spartan 3s, Alpha, Beta, and Gamma, but they were mainly used for suicide missions to give humanity more time in the war. But out of the 930 Spartan 3s, a handful of them were pulled out due to being too valuable to lose, leading to the formation of specialist groups like the Headhunters and Noble Team. While short-lived, each member was able to showcase their unique personality and attributes that made them elite Spartans, with their different customized armor, all while having each of their deaths be symbolic to them. Noble 1, aka Carter A259, the natural-born leader who cares for his comrades. He and Kat are the last 2 members of the original Noble Team, with all the others coming and going over time. But he still remains cool and composed, commands his team with no uncertainty, and is someone who everyone respects. This is made especially clear during Winter Contingency, when George and Emil are bickering and he immediately shuts them up, and when he saves Kat from being hit by an energy sword, putting his life on the line to protect his teammates. He also makes tactical decisions in the best interest of the squad, like sacrificing himself during the Pillar of Autumn mission, letting us and Emil carry on as he goes down with the ship.
Commander, you don't have the firepower.
I've got the mask.
Solid copy. Hit him hard, boss.
You're on your own, Noble. Carter out.
Noble 2, aka Cat B320, the hacker and brains of the group. She comes off a bit cold and condescending at first, maybe because she still blames herself for the original Noble 6's death, which you can actually see in the live action trailer for this game, Deliver Hope, which is a masterpiece and I highly recommend you go watch. And we also learn how she lost her right arm, but over time, starts to warm up to us, and eventually we become someone she respects. Her opinions are also greatly valued, like when she comes up with the idea of blowing up the space carrier using a slip space drive, but while focused on the task at hand, she's often distracted by other things going on in her mind, which eventually led to her death. And her being shot in the head, abruptly, felt symbolic for the person who was the brains of the group and had a plan for pretty much everything.
Does he get off calling a demolition a priority one?
Come on, get in! Let's go, come on!
Close the doors! Faster!
Noble 3, aka June A266, the team sniper. He's often placed distant from the main group and stays away from most of the action, like when we first see him in Noble Actual, but is pretty forgettable compared to his other Noble team brethrens. We only really get to start knowing him during Nightfall, with him being a former headhunter and having a calm yet chilling demeanor. But it's ultimately fitting that the one person away from most of the action is the only surviving member, escorting Dr. Halsey and helping train the next generation of Spartans.
Dr. Halsey, Noble 3 will escort you to Castle Base.
I require no escort, Commander.
June, make sure nothing falls into enemy hands.
I'll do what's necessary, sir. Good luck.
You too, Rifleman.
Noble 4, aka Emil A239, the wild card. Besides his awesome skull-carved helmet and kukri knife, he comes off a bit brash and aggressive, especially against insurrectionists, but still shows pride and trust towards his teammates, like when he lets Cat use his knife. But he won't go down without a fight, which is what eventually happens to him, being stabbed in the chest by the same zealot from the beginning of the game, the one he let get away. In his final moments, he yells, "I'm ready, how about you?" Which could be a nod to the elites he brings with him to his grave, but could also be directed towards us, the player, asking if we're ready to sacrifice ourselves since we're now the last one remaining.
Who's next? I'm ready! How about you?
Noble 5, aka George 052, the gentle giant and only Spartan 2 of the group, yet still the most humane out of all of us. Like when he takes off his helmet to care for the girl who just lost her father during the beginning of the game, and is one of the first members to fully accept us into Noble Team, acting like the older brother we never had. Even with him being in the same program as the Master Chief, he doesn't let being a Spartan define who he is, often taking off his helmet whenever he gets a chance, like when he sacrifices himself to destroy the space carrier manually. The kindest one, sacrificing himself to save Reach, his home planet.
Better get going, Six. They're gonna need you down there. Listen, Reach has been good to me. The time has come to return the favor. Don't deny me this. Tell him to make it count.
And lastly, us, Noble 6, aka Spartan B312. We come into the story as a replacement for the previous member, Tom A293, which again, you see in the live action trailer, but we're not here because the group wants us, but as the new guy to get Noble Team back up to full strength. This is especially apparent during Noble Actual, where everyone besides Carter pretty much disregards us. Playing as Noble 6 was a sharp contrast from the Master Chief. Instead of doing everything on our own, we were now put on a team. That's made very clear with Noble 6's confidential background, and Carter telling us to leave that lone wolf stuff behind. We follow Carter's command, and being placed in a squad added a new dynamic for the series, one different from partnering up with Marines and ODSTs. But as we follow orders and help out wherever we can, the rest of the squad eventually warms up to us, until they all fall one by one, and we're the last man standing. All these deaths affected me so much growing up and taught me a lot about sacrifice. And all their personalities and relationships made the story what it is and different from any other Halo. Because of Noble Team's actions, the Master Chief was able to save the day and humanity was able to survive. And we'll always remember that Spartans never die. They're just missing in action. But I did want to talk about another thing besides the campaign. Before I truly appreciated the campaign, the multiplayer was where I spent most of my time playing. This has always been a core part of the franchise, and it's just as important in my opinion. From playing split screen with my friends, to people hosting LAN parties, to giant esports tournaments, this was where Halo shined. But unlike the campaign being one of the best in this series, the multiplayer wasn't. This is mainly due to armor abilities, like sprinting, jetpacks, and how stupid armor lock was sometimes, and just how bad the weapon balancing was. But even with all the negatives, I also had a lot of fun. I remember playing Big Team Slayer with my friends and riding vehicles like Pelicans and Warthogs into the heat of battle, playing Capture the Flag on maps like Sword Base and Powerhouse, being able to play as elites in Invasion, playing Griffball and preventing the other team from scoring by killing them with gravity hammers, all while trying to deliver the ball to the other side, and Infected, by far my favorite mode. Having to survive the onslaught of jumping maniacs with energy swords had my adrenaline through the roof, and I remember constantly replaying this mode with my friends in custom lobbies, especially on Boardwalk. And the armor customization in this game was by far the best, giving us a plethora of different helmets and armor pieces to choose from. And I especially appreciated the progression system, being able to unlock everything through grinding and not having it be locked behind the paywall. And it was really cool seeing all the different player designs during lobbies, but by far the mode my friends and I played the most was Forge. This mode was our favorite thing to do in the game. Having a playground where we could do and build anything we wanted was eye-opening. We would mainly create minigames like racetracks, human darts, custom infected maps, building the coolest bases we can think of, and so much more. I especially remember changing into the little orb guy, spawning in a grid, and chucking my friends across the map in vehicles. We would have a blast messing around, and it was all possible thanks to Forge World. This map was revolutionary, giving us everything we needed in one map. Originally, these were supposed to be 5 separate canvases, but Bungie decided to make it into one big map instead, letting you go from one section to another without needing to exit the mode. You have the Canyon, a remake of the iconic Blood Gulch map from the original Halo, the Coliseum, an indoor hangar space with a huge entrance that overlooks the map, the Quarry, a smaller, flat, grassy section above the Coliseum, the abundance of different islands, the coastline bridge and the cool looking waterfall, with caves hidden throughout, and not to mention, this map was huge. Like if you spawn in the wrong area, it'd take you a daunting amount of time to get back to where you were. It's safe to say that almost everyone loved this map, and going back to it nearly 15 years later, I still remember everything. But before I go, I do want to talk about one more thing about Halo that would change my life forever.
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here?
Halo Machinimas were something I used to religiously watch back in the day. The earliest ones I can remember were the Do You Like Waffles one and Who Farted in the Warthog. But out of all the Machinimas on YouTube, the one series that inspired me the most growing up was Red vs. Blue. Created by Rooster Teeth, these guys opened my eyes to the world of Machinimas. Originally starting as a sitcom series about 2 teams in the middle of a box canyon, it turned into a long-lasting series of multiple seasons, compelling arcs, personable characters, and incredible action sequences that would change what it meant to be a web series. My personal favorite seasons were 11 through 13, the Chorus trilogy, and that was my first gateway into filmmaking, a passion that's still with me now. But eventually, things change. We change. Rooster Teeth would shut down on May 15th, 2024, and Red vs. Blue finally got a proper ending with restoration. Even with Bernie reacquiring it and supposedly bringing it back in the near future, I doubt it'll ever be the same. I guess all good things must come to an end, and that's what probably should have happened with Halo. Halo never really felt the same after Bungie left. 4 was meh, 5 was disappointing to say the least, and Infinite felt pretty bland. 343 Industries, or Halo Studios now, didn't understand Bungie's philosophy when it came to their Halo games. I continued playing Halo throughout the years, but it always felt like something was missing. Replaying the original trilogy made me feel a sense of belonging and finally understand what I've been missing out on all these years. I guess it all comes down to age and when you started playing. For the older gamers who were there from the very start, I can objectively agree that 2 or 3 are probably the best Halo games. But for the people who were born after the release of the original game, like myself, the spin-offs were probably the ones that introduced you to this amazing world. While ODST was an experience I remember fondly and is another game I might talk about in the future, Reach was the game that truly cemented my love for this franchise.